Hi everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel of Floxus, and here we are with the sixth part of Python Bootcamp course. And today we are going to see about functions. So let's start. So basically, functions, it is a block of code that only runs when it is called. So basically, here you can see just the same way like we used to code earlier. It's the same way here you can see we are just simply printing a statement that is hello from a function. Okay. Now, what we are doing, we are just defining it under this block. Okay. Like it will be executed, or the compiler will read this only when it is called. Okay. Else it will not be called, or it will compiler will not see it. Okay, so basically what we are doing, we are just defining it under a function. Okay, and yeah, you can pass data known as parameters into a functions. So here in between these small brackets we can pass parameters also. Now we are going to see about what is a parameter. And a function can return data as a result. It can return data, like we can write return hello from a function also. There is a keyword that is return, and this is the format how you can simply define a function. That is writing this keyword, that is def define. It is basically used to define a function. Define, and then the function name, it can be anything. Okay, like you want to write it as car. Okay, you want to create a function that is that you want it to name like car, so you can write car and then small bracket, and then you start the indentation. Okay, so what we are doing, simply the same way like we used to code earlier. Only thing is that I want this specific these specific codes to run only when I want to call it. Okay, so for that what I'm doing, I'm specifying it under a function. So it is also used to, like, suppose I want this to you like I want to execute this code many times. So what I'm doing it, I'm just defining it under a function, and I can use it anywhere in the like Python file. Are you getting my point? It can like it can help us in like suppose I want to print this statement. Okay, in anywhere in the Python file. So what I can do, I can simply call this function. Here you can see this my function, and anywhere in the Python file I can simply call this function and this will be printed. Okay, I don't have to write this entire code whatever is there inside this function whenever I want to execute it. Okay, so this makes the code short, and it helps us. Okay, so what is the importance or why we should study functions? Okay, so consider this situation like you want to write some specific part of code like multiple times. You need to use it and you need to write it multiple times. So what do we generally do? Like if I don't know, if I don't have any idea about functions, what I will do, I will simply cut paste that or copy paste that specific part of code, and then I will paste it everywhere when I use it. Okay, yes, that's the most simplest thing that I can do. So but like suppose there is some there's some error or there is some bug in that specific part of code. Now what I will have to do, I will have to correct each part of that code everywhere or in that Python file. Yes, are you getting my point? What is the problem? Like, suppose there is some part of code that I have written multiple places, okay? And now there is some bug in that code, okay? Now, for fixing that bug, what I will do? I will have to find that specific code everywhere, and then I will have to manually, or I will have to replace it everywhere. Yes, and that can be very messy. So now here comes the role of functions. What you can do with the help of this function, you can simply define this function, and whatever the code is, okay, that you need to use like multiple places, what you can do, you can define it under function, and then you can just simply name that function. Like suppose in this case, I have the name of this function as my function. So what I can do, I can simply call that function wherever I need it. And now suppose in future there is some problem in that code, or I need to update that code, so I don't have to manually change it everywhere. Now I can simply change it in that one place, that is where I have defined the function. And the wherever it is being called, it will be updated automatically. So now you can understand how much helpful, or how much easy it becomes to do with the help of functions. Are you getting my point? Like now you can just simply call this block of code, and it can be executed anywhere, anytime. Okay. So, yeah, basically, that's the reason why we should study function, or what is the importance of function. So this is the basic syntax how you define a function. This tell us that we are going to define a function. So this is a keyword. Before defining any function, you need to type this, that is def, and it simply means we are going to define a function. This is the function name. Okay, this my function. It can be anything. Okay, but the only thing is that the important thing is that after this name, okay, it can be anything, like it's your choice what you name, you want to name the function to be. Okay. So after this you need to add the small bracket. Okay, this tells the compiler, or in the Python it tells that yeah, we are defining a function. Okay, and then after that this colon starts the indentation. Okay, and after that our function block starts. Okay, and after that whatever we write, that will come under that function. And here what we are doing, we are simply calling it. We are This is called calling the function. It means that compiler will go here, and then it will, like what will happen, then it will come here, and then it will start reading this code. Okay, it will start executing these codes. Okay, are you getting my point? First, this calling will be done, then only these lines will be executed. Okay. So this is called calling the function. Okay. So yeah. So let's move to the okay. And one more thing, we can pass parameters. So we are going to see about it. Okay. So yeah. Now in Python, there are two values. Sometimes you must have heard about parameters and arguments. Okay. So basically, like in any other language, these two terms are different. And obviously, we are going to see what is the difference between parameters and arguments. But in Python, you can consider both of them as same. Okay. So parameter or arguments, the term parameter and argument can be used for the same thing, information that are passed into a function. Okay, basically, like suppose I have this function. Okay, I am defining, like let me just change the marker. So like suppose we are defining one function. Okay, like suppose I'm defining a function add. Okay, and I want to add two values inside that. Okay, and I have one variable c that is adding two variable a plus b. Okay, and printing that value. Okay, print c. Okay, so and I want this value to be to be inputted or given to this function whenever it is called. Okay, so that's why what I will write here, I will write pass it as a parameter here. Okay, and whenever it is called, okay, after this indentation, whenever it is called, there is some value that is to be passed, that will be called as argument. Okay, 3 comma 4 suppose. So these two value will be, whenever this add function will be called, these two value will go here. Okay, it will go here, and it will like this 3 will be assigned to A, and this 4 will be assigned to B. Okay, in the same order it is the order like it is written, the same order will be followed for assigning 2. Okay, so this A will be having the value of 3 and B will be having the value of 4. Okay, so the main difference between the parameter and argument is the value that is or the variable that is while defining, that is passed while defining the function, is known as the parameter, and the values or the variable that we are passing during the calling of the function, we will call it as argument. Although in Python you can consider both of them, like here you can see parameter and argument can be used for the same thing. But if someone asks you, okay, that what is the main difference between parameter and argument, you can simply say that a parameter is a variable listed inside the parenthesis in the function definition. Here you can see while defining the function, the variable that is listed is known as parameter, whereas while calling the function, when it is called, okay, the value that is sent to the function is known as the argument. Okay, so a function must be called with the correct number of argument. Like suppose I want two values here, okay, for executing this function. Okay, like suppose I have the value of A, but I forgot to pass the value of B. Like I'm calling something like this, like I have called 3 and then I have stopped here. Okay, so what is happening here? There will be an error. Okay, why? Because we know the value of A, but we don't know the value of B. Okay, it will cause some error, and that's why there should be correct number of arguments. Like the number of parameters should be equal to number of arguments. Okay, if you don't know how many arguments that will be passed into your function, like suppose sometimes I define a function. Okay, I'm defining a function, but I don't know that how many arguments will be passed. Okay, like sometimes some users, like someone else gets to access your code. Okay, now he or she passes some undefined number of argument. Okay, she don't know that how many number of arguments should be passed. Okay, or even you don't know that in future how many argument I will pass. Okay, so for that, in for safety purpose, or was just considering the safe side, you can go for this, that is called star and then any value. Okay, star A. Okay, this means that it can accept any number of argument. Okay, it can accept, it will only consider those that it want, else will be ignored. Okay, extra one will be ignored. Okay, so if you don't know how many arguments that will be passed into your function, add a star before the parameter name in the function definition. So we are going to see how it will look like in our next slide. So also there are some rules to name the function, like function name. Okay, like suppose if the function name must begin with with an underscore. Okay, either it can begin with an underscore or letter. Okay, any letter. Okay, and also the function names are case sensitive. Like suppose if you name the function as small c and then car, and another function as this like capital C and then car. Okay, so these two are different, that is they are case sensitive. Okay, so that's the main factor you should consider, you should remember this. And also either you can start your function name with an underscore, or you can start with a letter. Okay, so yeah, consider this. And also there are some keywords, if you remember we have already seen this. There are some keywords that those keywords cannot be the name of any function. Okay, you cannot use those keywords as the function name. Okay, like suppose any, like you cannot use and as the class name, or any arithmetic operators as the class name. So those are some set of keywords you can check out. You cannot use them as the function name or class name. Okay, we are going to see about what is a class name. So yeah, so this is the rule how you can define the function name. Okay, so let's code it. Okay, let's see how we can define a function. Okay, so let's just start this. So first, let's just define a simple function, and then we are going to see about how we can pass an arguments to it. Okay, so like I'm defining a function. Suppose message. Okay, and then I'm going to use small brackets, and then this is a simple starting of indentation with a colon, and you can see automatically the cursor comes here. Okay, this means that after inside this whatever I write, it will be inside the function, inside this function. Okay, and yeah, so let's just write something like I want to print hello. Okay, suppose I want to print hello, and now how I can print it. So for that, if I don't call this function, then there will be, like, you can see how it work. If I don't call this function, okay, first.py, nothing happens because the compiler doesn't go and see what is happening here. If it is not called, then it is of no use. Okay, it will be ignored simply. Okay, now I'm calling this. Okay, the compiler directly comes here, it sees that yeah, this function is called, it will go then starting in this line, and then it will execute this statement. Okay, so here you can see now it has been printed. Okay, hello is printed. You can also pass some arguments. Now we are going to see about how you can pass some arguments. Okay, so let me just define some parameters. Like suppose I print like I have some parameter a comma b. Okay, now what I will do, I want a and then b. Okay, hello a, suppose. Okay, hello a, I want to just go for this, and then also I want to write hello and then b. Okay, so what I will do, I will pass some value here. It can be string type. So like I write hello John. Okay, and I want to print other name as Alice, suppose. So now here you can see what happens. The first the compiler will go here. It checks that yes, this function is called. Then it will come here and it will start executing this code I have run. And this here you can see hello John and hello Alice. It has been printed. So what we are doing, I'm passing argument here, and then here the parameters are being accepted, and then this code is executed. That's the simple example how you can do it. And yeah, so yeah, this is how it is followed. So if you want to, like, if you change the order of this, then obviously the values of a and b will also be changed. Okay, so yeah, this is how it will work. Next, let's just go to we know that arguments are there, and yeah, we are we know how we can do that. And also yeah, there is one more point. If we don't know how many number of arguments are going to be passed, okay, so we can just simply write here a. Okay, now here you can see if I write like this, what happens, just check that. So what is happening here, it goes or it is passed like a tuple. If you remember what is a tuple, you can see that. Now in tuple, we know that we can go for indexing, like we can access the value by the help of index. So here, like I have printed like print hello and then a1. That means we know that this function will do what? It will pass this value as tuple, and here it will be accepted like a tuple. And now what I am doing, I'm accessing the first index element, that is Alice, and here you can see the output is hello Alice. So by this you can access every element. Okay, so the simple logic is that what we are doing, we are just using the star, uh, before this variable, okay, so that if we don't know like how many number of arguments we are going to pass, then we can simply do this, and then after that we can access the element by the help of indexing. Okay, so yeah, that's how arguments work. So next we have one keyword arguments. As the name suggests, it simply means that while passing or while calling the function, we pass the argument, but at that time we will pass the argument by assigning to a variable. Okay, like suppose here we can see that we are defining a function, we are having some parameters. Okay, and now what we are doing, we are calling this. Okay, we are calling this function my function, and while calling, what we are doing, we are assigning the parameters to the variables. Okay, now you can see what we are doing, like the order of the argument was child 1, first it was child 3, then child 2, then child 1. Yes, but now here you can see I can change the order, because I know that if I don't if I don't assign these value like this, then it simply goes from left to right. Okay, it will follow that order. But if I want to change the order, then what I can do, I can simply use these variable names, and then I can manually assign them some value, whatever the argument I want to pass. I can simply assign them. Like I want the child 1 variable to have the value Alice, then child 2 to be Annie, and then child 3 to be Lily. Okay, so what is happening here? So I'm changing the order, as well as I'm assigning it to a variable, and that is being passed. Okay, and that is getting compared here. So now child 3 will have this value, that is Lily, although the order is changed, but it will compare with the name of the variable. Okay, are you getting this point? So that's also called as named argument, because we are using the same name or the same variable name that is in the parameter, and we are using it to assign the value. Okay, so it doesn't care or it doesn't bother about what is the order, just simply check with the variable name and compare it, and then print that value. So now if I print this, then I will have the output as Lily. Okay, so that's why it is also called as named argument. Okay, are values that when passed into a function are identifiable by a specific parameter name. Okay, so we are going to code it. At that time, we can check about it. So yeah, keyword argument. Next is default parameter value. This is very important one. It simply means that, like suppose, I have defined a function, but now while calling, I forgot to pass any argument. Okay, then at that time there will be an error. But for coming to the for just to consider that in the worst case, suppose I forgot to pass the argument, then what I can do, I can simply, okay, while declaring the parameter, I can simply assign one, suppose one dummy value. Okay, you can call it as dummy value, so that in case if I don't pass any value here, okay, while calling, then this value will work. Okay, let me just change the marker. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, so yeah, now it will work. So you can see, yeah, this value will work in case if we forget to pass any value while calling. Okay, so this is just to be in the safe side. Okay, what we are doing while defining only, we are storing some value. It can be the value that you want in some of the case, or you can just simply add one dummy value, okay, to the parameter, so that in case if you forget to pass any argument, then it can simply work with it. Okay, so we are going to code it. So don't worry if you are not clear with the syntax, because we are going to see how it will look while running it. Okay, next is recursion. Okay, so recursion is simply function calling itself. Okay, in one word, you can just understand that a function calling itself is known as recursion. Now when we use this topic, when we will implement this, so it can work like a loop also. Okay, it's like it can be easily be used like a loop. Like Python also accepts function recursion, which means a defined function can call itself. Recursion is a common mathematical and programming concept. It means that a function calls itself. This has a benefit of meaning that you can loop through the data to reach a result. Now, if we can do the loop concept here in recursion, then you should remember that in loop also what we used to do, there is some boundary value. Like we used to have some boundary value, so that after that point the loop used to terminate or it used to end, if you remember in loop. So the same way in recursion also, what is important is that we should have one condition. After that the function should stop calling itself. Okay, so there are so many like so many implementation of recursion we are going to see about it, like a Fibonacci series, and then yeah, we can find the factorial. So we will see about it. We are going to code also. So yeah, the developer should be very careful with recursion, as it can be quite easy to slip into writing a function that never terminates. Because if we forget to write those condition that after that the function should not call itself, then it will like it will form a infinite loop. Okay, or one that uses excess amount of memory or process power. However, when written correctly, recursion can be very efficient and mathematically elegant approach to programming. Okay, so yeah, let's just see some example, or we will just yeah, let's just see some example. Okay, let me just show you one syntax or the simple example how we can declare, or how we can yeah see recursion. So here you can see we have defined a function, simple function declaration with the name as try recursion. Okay, so yeah, and the parameter is k. Okay, if k is greater than 0, the condition is if k is greater than 0, then result equal to k plus, and then I'm calling itself. Here you can see inside this function only I'm calling the same function. You can check this out. Here the main recursion is happening. Okay, so this is how recursion happens. The function is calling itself. Okay, like I'm calling my name. Yeah, I'm calling my name. Okay, the same way. Here is the example of how you do it. Okay, so yeah, result is equal to k plus try recursion, and then the parameter is decreased by 1. That is, now the parameter that is sent here is k minus 1. Okay, are you getting my point? And then what we are doing, we are printing the result. Else if k is not greater than 0 or equal to 0, then or less than 0, then this condition will work, and here result equal to 0, and then we are returning it. Now this value, this return simply means that if we are passing something, okay, if we are writing something, that means that this value will be whenever we call it, this value will be returned, or it will be printed. Okay, if we print this, else what will happen, it simply means that this function should stop working now. Okay, it simply means that it should return now. Okay, now what we are doing here, we are simply having some value of k, and then what we are doing, we are having one result, and before that what we are doing, we are comparing. If k is greater than 0, then result is equal to whatever the value is, initial value of k is, and then plus, then we are calling the function name itself. Okay, that is recursion is happening, and the parameter decreases by -1. Okay, now this is how here you can see what the compiler directly comes here. Try recursion. Here the compiler checks that yes, this function is being called. It comes from here and it comes here. Like compiler starts running here, and the value is 6. So it checks if 6 is greater than 0. Yes, it is greater than 0. Then what will happen? Result equal to 6 plus, and then again the function is being called, and now the value that is being passed is 5, because k minus 1 is being passed. Then again, what is happening? 5 is greater than 0. Yes, it is greater than 0. Now you can understand what is happening here. It will start, like it will call itself till when? Till k is greater than 0. And as soon as k is less than 0 or equal to 0, what happens? It will return the final result, which will store the value 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. Okay, this is the final value that that we will have at this point, and this value will be returned, and we will have that result. I hope this is clear to you all. What is happening? First, this 6 goes here. It checks whether it is greater than 0. Yes, it is greater than 0. Then again, in this result, what we are having? We are having 6 plus, then try recursion again called with the value 5, because k minus 1. And then again checked, 5 is greater than 0. Then again we will write 5. And then here 5 plus, then again k minus 1, that is 4, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. So this is what happening. This is how recursion works. Now you can see this is just like the loop concept. If you remember, it's simply like a loop, and it actually saves a lot of time. If you will learn about time complexity and space complexity, then you will understand that what is the importance of recursion and what is the importance of loop. Okay, because that helps a lot. Okay, so there are so many time complexity that comes under data structure part. So you are a beginner, I guess. So now I'm not going to tell much about it, because it will confuse you all. So let's just code a bit so that you will be, yeah, you will be more familiar with this topic. Okay, so let's just see how we can pass the keyword argument. Like here you can see, while defining what I'm doing, the order of parameter is like, first we have A and then B. Okay. Now, if I want to change the order, okay, like simply if I pass one value, like without using the key arguments, if I pass any value, like suppose Alice, and then if I have John, okay. So what happens? You can see first Alice is there, then John is there. Okay. Now I'm changing the order. Suppose if I write like this, B equal to this and equal to this. Okay. Equal to, yes. You can see what happens. Here, first John comes. That is now because E equal to John and B equal to Alice. Although while assigning or while passing it, the order in which we are passing is, first we are having B and then we have A. But because A is having a value that is already assigned, and that is John, so that's why we are having no problem here. Okay, so if you don't want to have any problem of order, okay, in which you are passing, then you can go for keyword argument. Okay, that's the simple use of keyword argument, because yeah, it makes the work easy. We don't care about in which order we are passing the argument. You can simply do it by just using the name of parameters, okay, and assigning them the value that you want. Okay, so yeah, that's about keyword argument. Next, let's see about the default value. Okay, like how the default value works. Like suppose I have hello, and then I have assigned one value to this parameter. Okay, and now I just forget to pass any value to the argument. Okay, now if I haven't done this, okay, suppose I haven't declared any value in parameter, then what happens? You can see there is one type error, that is it require one argument. But now if I assign one default value, then what happens? Let's check out here. You can see, sorry, B is not defined. Yeah, you can see hello Alice, it works. Okay, it means that what is happening here, it simply takes this default value if nothing is being passed here. Okay, if nothing is being while calling, if nothing is there and it require one argument, then what it does, it simply uses this default value. Okay, that's how this default argument works. Now we are going to see about how we can how we can do for recursion. Okay. So like here you can see what we are doing. We are having this factorial function, and then in the starting only, in the beginning only, we have this condition that if it is 1, the value becomes 1, then return 1, because 1 factorial is equal to 1. Okay. So that's why we are taking the boundary condition, and then else if any other value is there, then what we need to return, we need to return whatever the value is into then factorial of n minus 1. And it is actually the recursion part. Here you can see this will work like the recursion. It is calling itself with a value that is less than that. Okay. So now what will happen? Like suppose if I take it as 5. Okay. So now here what happens? It's first checks if 5 equal to 1. No. Then else. Then here what happens? 5 into then factorial of 4. Okay. Now we have factorial of 4. Okay, here now factorial of work 4 will work. Now 4 equal to, now a value is being updated to 4. Now if 4 equal to 1, no, then else again this factorial will break and it will become as 4 into then factorial of 3. Okay, then again this now the updated value of a becomes 3, and we will check, and again this will break into like 3 into factorial of 1, sorry 2. Okay, 2, and again this will break and it will become 2 into factorial of 1. And we know that factorial of 1, that is if we are passing like this, factorial of 1 means a equal to 1, and we know that if a equal to 1 then return 1, that means here it will break into 1. That simply means 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, and that's our result. So you can see now what at last what I am doing, printing 5, that is factorial of 5, and that is the output will be like suppose if I run it, so it is 120. You can see. So now I hope this recursion part is clear to you all, because I have also tried to explain you all by the dry run how it actually works, how the function is calling itself. First, this print function will work. It will call the factorial 5. It will again like check if a equal to 1, return 1. Else, it will go to this, and here 5, that is a, into then factorial of 4, because a minus 1 is 4, and now updated value is 4, and it will work like that. Okay. So here you can see this is the chain how it works, and by this I hope the concept of recursion is clear to you all. Let me just erase this. Yeah. So now you can code for factorial values, you can find it. Okay, now we have one very important rule that is known as LGB rule. It simply means that it is working basically on the scope. Okay, now while defining any function, okay, any function or class, we don't know about class, so just leave that for now. Like while defining any function, there is a scope. Scope is not defined by any curly braces, but here in Python we have that indentation. Okay, and that defines the scope. Okay, so here this LGB rule basically is the local, global, and built-in functions. Okay, so we have basically these three types of functions. Okay, or we can say, yeah, functions. So let me just explain you all. Let me explain you all by a code so that it will be easy for you all. So the value has been printed. Okay. Now here you can see. Now let me explain that LGB rule. Okay, that is three parts are there. That is local. Use this marker. It was local, and then global, and then built-in. Coming to the built-in part, because I have already explained you all that. Built-in functions are all those functions that are already there in Python. Like for example, this is one of the example, that is pow. Pow function that is usually used, that returns us the power. Like suppose radius, this will return us radius to the power 2. Okay, radius square, because we know that the formula is pi r square. Okay, so this is radius to the power 2. If you want radius to the power 3, okay, cube, then you can go for pow and then radius and then 3. Okay, these are the built-in functions that are already there in Python, and you don't have to you don't have to think about it. They are already there and you can simply use that. Okay, like max function, then min function, there are so many built-in function, you can check that. And okay, so these are built-in function. Now what are local variable and global variable? Okay, what are these? So basically, local variable are those variable that are defined under some scope. Okay, now here you can see this radius. Is it under any scope? This is directly like, this variable can be used in any part of this Python file. I don't have to like worry about it. It is like, it is declared here, like it means that it is defined under this Python file scope. I don't have to worry about it. I can directly use this variable by just writing this name, that's radius. That's called global variable. Okay, these are global variable. That means these variables can be accessed in any part of this Python file. Okay, and then we come to local variable. It means that these variables are actually assigned, or they're in a defined scope. Okay, they are inside, defined inside a scope. Now what is a scope? Like here you can see this function starts, and then the indentation, this indentation you can see here, the space, it actually defines the scope. That means the value, okay, the values are actually here as like it is inside a scope. Okay, a scope is defined here. Okay, and this scope, how can we come out of this scope? So now here you can see this print statement is actually out of this scope. Okay, now this area variable, this is known as the local variable. Okay, why? Because if I want to like, let me just change the name. Okay, let me just change the name, and you can see how like, let me just take it as result. Okay, I have assigned a variable here, result. I'm not returning it, or I'm not doing anything. Okay, and I want to access that value. Okay, I want to print that result. Let me just see, is it possible? Let me just check that. Yeah, let me run that. So here you can see name result is actually not defined. Like the compiler doesn't know where is result. Okay, are you getting my point? Why? Because this, although this result has been assigned some formula, some value will be there, but this result is actually not in this global area. Okay, are you getting this point? In this Python file, it is actually inside a scope, and that is a local variable. Okay, although I can print it here inside the scope, if I write print result, then that will work. Okay, here you can see, if I write like this, this result is not working, but this result will work. Okay, so you can see now it is printing. Okay, so that's how it is actually working. This result will work like a local variable. These variables that are defined globally, that can be accessed in anywhere in this Python file, will be called as global variable. And those functions that are already there in Python, that are already built are known as built-in function. Okay. Okay, so now we are going to see about pass by object reference. So basically, there are two types of, like, the two ways in which a function call a value, that is call by reference or call by value. Okay, so yes, so basically call by reference simply means that whenever, like, we know that whenever there is a list or any other variable, or you can say, yeah, any object has been created, then these, like, it is being stored somewhere. Yes, we know that it's being stored somewhere and it has some reference. Okay, and if, like, if I call a function and I'm passing this value, okay, suppose I'm passing this list. Okay, and now what I'm doing, I'm appending this value. Okay, I'm appending this Java to it. Okay, now what is happening, whatever the value that is being accepted here, okay, that is being changed and it is getting updated with this value. Okay, the reference value is being changed. Okay, there is nothing like a new value has been created or a new list is being created. Okay, whatever the referenced value or object referenced has been sent here. Okay, that is being appended with a new value. Okay, and that's why what is happening, this list, okay, this list is getting changed and it is having one more value, that is Java with it. Okay, so now when after this function is called, okay, wherever I will use, or whenever I print this, okay, print this list, then I will have this updated value Java with it. Why? Because this reference, okay, this object is being changed with its reference. Okay, the original list is being changed. Are you getting this point? Okay. So that's the difference, and let's see what is the, like, what is the difference between the call by value, or what is happening in call by value. So you can see the same thing is happening here. A new object, suppose, has been created. Okay. Now we know that why I'm calling this as object. So we know that in Python everything is an object. Okay. So, like, suppose this is a list. Okay, and I'm passing this. Okay, fine. I'm passing this list and here it is getting. Uh, so this is being accepted here. But now inside this function, what is happening? A new list is being created. The place where this list was stored, this list, okay, suppose this list was stored here. Okay, and it is being passed here. But now this list that is getting assigned with a new value. Now what is happening here, whatever the value has been passed here, it doesn't care about it. Okay, it doesn't think about it, it just simply assign a new value and it is being stored in other place. Okay, it is having some other reference, and this new updated value will only work inside this scope. Okay, why? Because this list become like a local variable here. Here comes the role of LGB. If you remember, that is local, global, and built-in attributes. Okay, you can call it as attributes. So here this list will only work, or whatever the value is, only work inside this scope. Okay, now if I print here, like if I print list, then it will print Java. Okay, but if I print here, like after calling this function, we know that inside this function what is happening, a new list is being created and that value is Java, although the name is same. But here you can see, after printing this list, it will check for this value, not about this value. Okay, so let me just erase it. What is happening here, it is checking for this list value, this value, because there is a difference between this value, although the name is same. Okay, both the names are list, but they are stored in different place. Okay, in different area, and they are having some different reference. Okay, so here what is happening, a new list has been created, and here in when we print list, then it will see in the global scope what is the value of list, and in the original value, the referenced object here, there's no change, and it works the same. Okay, it is the same. That is Python. Okay, so I hope now it is clear to you. That is call by value, this one, and this is call by reference. The value is being changed in the referenced value, and here the original the new value has been created, assigned. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we have some logic behind this representation. Let me explain this. Now, if like there is some local variable, I'm inside a scope, okay, and I have some value yeah, and I'm referring to some variable, okay, I'm accessing some variable, and it is not inside that scope. Then I will move forward and I will check whether it is defined globally. Okay, are you getting my point? Like, suppose taking the last example where we were having a function that is returning the area. Okay, suppose, and here we were having the pi r square. Okay, I'm not writing the mathematical that expression, that statement, I'm just writing it roughly. So we were having pi r square, and if we used to check the pi value, okay, the pi defined pi value, then that was not defined locally, it was actually defined globally. So if I will search the locally, then it will not be found. Okay, we need to go outside the scope, and then we need to check whether it is defined or not. And if it is defined globally, then we can use it in the local scope. Okay, in that scope we can use it. But if it is defined the reverse way, if I'm in the global space, okay, suppose if I'm outside the scope and I want to access some value that is inside the local scope, then cannot do that. That is, the reverse way is not possible, but this way it is possible. Are you getting my point? Coming out from the local or accessing the value of global, okay, um, while you are in the local scope, okay, you can do that. Okay, but that is, it simply means that doing like this or coming out from the local variable and searching the value in the global scope, you can do that, but the reverse way is not possible. The same goes for coming out from the global variable or the global scope and searching whether that function, in the last case we were having the pow function. Okay, pow function was what it was doing, it was actually not defined anywhere. The pow function we have not defined, it was actually defined in the Python, it was already defined in the Python. So that's called built-in function. This is the order that is being followed. So I hope it is very clear, because that's very important one, important concept, and it is very helpful. Okay, so you can see the same thing. Okay, this is the global value. This power function is actually the built-in function that is there. Okay, now the last topic is lambda. This lambda expression, it simply is the way we are defining the function, we are just changing it. Okay, lambda is just a small anonymous function. Okay, it's just that. Okay, it can take any number of argument but can only have one expression. Okay, that means the syntax of writing this is lambda. First we need to write this, then the argument that we need to pass. Okay, and then the expression simply means the code. Okay, the code that we were having. Okay, the like suppose in the last code, the pi r square one, there we were having like many expressions were there. But in case of suppose a simple linear expression, like we have only simple this a plus b plus c, okay, I want to return this, then you can go for lambda, because this is very simple one, and in the one line only, it actually saves a lot of space. Okay, you can see x is equal to lambda, then this is the argument that is going to be passed whenever this function is called. Okay, this lambda is called, then there is a colon, it defines the indentation, and basically scope is starting. Okay, the same way the function was defined, it's same like that. In place of def we have lambda, and we don't have any function name here, we directly have the argument name, then the scope, and then we have this expression. Okay, that is a plus 10. And the most important thing here is that we have only one expression. You cannot do this for multiple line, because here you can see we are doing it in the single line. How can we go for like a multiple line? Okay, so that's how lambda helps us. Basically, it helps when we have a single line expression. Okay, by this we come to the end of a video. So I hope you guys are clear with the concept of functions, and do give your reviews. Thank you.